Hedgehog, Gamer Dude!
Aha!
Hey everyone, this is Mark, Gamer Dude, and I am joined by two very special guests. Care to introduce yourselves, guys?
Oh, sure. Hey, I'm Alan Denton.
And I'm Greg Hahn. And we were the writers and story editors on Sonic Boom. Or some of the writers, but the story editors for sure.
Yeah. Nailed it.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, I decided to get these guys in because I had like a Sonic Boom resurgence lately, so I decided, let me see and reach out to these guys to see if they can do an interview, and they all said yes, so I'm so glad to have you guys on here.
Happy to do it.
Woo. Yeah. It's cool. It's cool to still be talking about this show after, 13 years?
Oh, yeah. I was like, I think still like early, I don't even remember now, but I know that my channel was like still a baby around that time when Sonic Boom was going around. It was still like a rookie around that time compared to how I am right now. And Sonic Boom definitely was like my, like, I would say it was on Saturdays, right? And then see now I'm forgetting.
It was on Saturdays at like
6
6:30 a.m. or something. 7 a.m.
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I know I put them to record, and I would watch them in the morning on the weekends since I know I was still in school around that time. Right, yeah. But still, the show really just like did a big difference in terms of me like as a Sonic fan. I was still a Sonic fan back then, but the new way they were going about it really just made me like I need to get into the profession as a writer big time.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely a writer. I want to like do my like own series one day, and also write my own book. So all the things in there, the comedy and all the comedy points really to show like one of these days I'm gonna have something like this, and people are gonna be like, I'm gonna meme this moment that this person wrote.
You do
Okay.
get to do that.
Yes. Okay, so I'll go into my questions, and then once we go from there, we'll go into the fan questions that many people have sent in. Sound okay?
Okay. Sounds great.
Sounds good.
Awesome. So my first question for you guys is, how did you guys join the staff for the Sonic Boom TV series? Did you get asked to do it, or did you have to like try out for them or anything like that?
So that started with a personal connection. Bill Freiberger was the head writer, showrunner of Sonic Boom. I'd worked with him before on an MTV show called Warren the Ape, and Greg and I were already friends with Bill, from that time I had known him and worked for him. So Bill, he got hired on the show, and he told me, like, oh, I'm starting to work on this new Sonic thing. And I just started peppering him with questions where I was just like, oh, cool. Is it like a new Sonic show? Is it modern or classic? And, what's the cast? Is Knuckles in it? Is Amy in it? Is Big in it? And I think that was like inadvertently like my audition, I guess, when he was like, oh, I know these guys can write and they seem to know a lot about Sonic. Great. That's not to say we got the job right away. We had to then submit a packet, what was in that packet, Greg?
I'm going to assume we had a spec for Adventure Time and a spec for regular show. I don't know if we submitted our Curb Your Enthusiasm as well, but we had a spec for that as well. And the thing is, Bill had already read all of those. That's how he knew that we were worth reaching out to in the first place, because we'd built a relationship with Bill. We'd become good friends. We would just see him every Thanksgiving, and throughout the year we'd be hanging out. And that's kind of how a lot of these things work. It's obviously your talent is a part of it, but also it's who you know and who you build relationships with and who you're friends with. And we were friends with Bill, and he wanted to give us an opportunity, and he had read our scripts and he thought we were good writers. And so
Yeah.
The
The other thing with that was like, he got us once we submitted a packet, and then we were approved to rewrite one episode. And then, which was Circus of Plunders, one of the first like 8. And so Greg and I did a full rewrite on that. And then it was like, oh, that went well. Okay. Well, doors open to pitch episodes now. And so then we sent in a bunch of pitches. And I think like a couple of them from that first batch got picked, where it was like, okay, these guys have like they get the tone of the show right away. Eggman's tomato sauce was one of our pitches. I won't remember what our other pitches were, but
Not off the top of my head, but yeah, that was the one that I think Bill also really took a liking to, was Eggman's tomato sauce, because we kind of subverted the expectations of like, oh, Eggman's making tomato sauce, he must be poisoning it, right? That's, I mean, if you've seen the episode, you know that that's kind of the angle. It's like, well, what's wrong with this tomato sauce? It's so delicious. And then the flip side of it is, actually, he was just doing that to infiltrate the homes with his evil robot tomato sauce cans. And so Bill liked that idea, and that was kind of that was a big one that I think helped earn trust for us and get us many more scripts afterward.
Yeah,
Wow.
and so we sort of like did this thing where then we were freelancers on the show, and we just kept freelancing, and then they were like, you know what, it'll be easier just to sign these guys to a contract, and then we were staff.
Awesome. Wow, love hearing the backstory of how everything like got in. I always did wonder how writers would get in. I mean, I do understand like with people building up relationships, they just reach out to you like, hey, do you want to join this thing? Hey, do you want to do this? Or I thought that originally Sega or someone from there would reach out to you first, but sometimes I know that can happen. So I was like really curious how writers just join a show sometimes. So now that I know the process of how it goes, I know for the future, build relationships and get connections everywhere.
Yeah, I mean that's just the truth about, well, any industry, but especially the entertainment industry. It's less about, you know, like the idea of networking is more about making friends than it is about going, hey, do you have a job for me? It's about just building a lifelong friendship, a years long friendship, and them knowing, oh, hey, you know who'd be good for this? That person. Or yeah, and that's how it worked out for us.
Nice. Okay, so the second question I have for you guys is, how many episodes did you write prior to animation and voice work? As I understand, because scripts are always written before the animation and voice work majority of the time. So, like, how
Yeah.
many did you write prior to that?
Like how
Well,
many drafts of each
all
script?
the scripts were written before we went to voice work. I mean,
Oh yeah.
you can't ask the voice actors to record dialogue when the dialogue's not written yet. So if that was the question, we wrote them all before they started recording audio.
Yeah,
Uh,
checkmate, atheists.
Yeah.
okay,
But,
okay.
but like, if you're asking like how many drafts of a script, it was. I feel like it would usually have like a 6. Like draft 6 was about when it would go to record.
Yeah, I mean, you
Uh,
know, there'd be an initial draft by the writer who was assigned. Sometimes that was us, and sometimes that was another writer. And then it would come to us, and we would get. I don't know if Bill would give them a note session at all. Sometimes,
No.
depending on the writer, he might. But when it was a lot of the French writers, I think he just took their first draft. Then he would bring it over to us. Alan and I would give it our pass.
That's 2.
And that's 2. And then we would sit
With
down
Bill?
with Bill.
Yeah.
Bill would do a little. Bill would read our pass. He'd make some tweaks, and then
So that
the
would be
three of us
3.
would get in a room, and we would all kind of hash it out and get it really tight. And that would be the 4th draft. And then there would be like some additional notes, and Bill would handle that on his own. So I guess maybe around 5 drafts was kind of standard for most episodes of Sonic Boom.
Yeah, I know that every episode, I know the script of like a full episode, there had to be so many drafts and such. I know that
Yeah.
if a script is there's no way. I doubt it's like very rare for a script to be fully like the one draft is the final script. I don't know how rare that is, or if it's
Very
like it's
rare.
never impossible.
It was very rare, but you know, I actually, you know, we say 5 drafts, but like, you know, a lot of those drafts weren't complete rewrites. They were maybe some of the earlier drafts were, but then once it got to the end, it was really just about making some tweaks and stuff. And the reason that there weren't as many drafts as you may hear about on other shows is that we would do really detailed outlines on these, so you knew exactly what was going to be in the episode. Once we went to script, it was really just converting an outline into script form, and so it was going to very much resemble what was planned, and so it just meant that there didn't have to go into 7 or 8 drafts on most scripts.
Yeah, I think the exception would be like the Shadow episode. I feel like Shadow episode had like 15 drafts or something.
There were extra notes with that.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So when it comes to another stuff you've written, Any episodes that you written that are your favorites, or just in general your favorite episodes from the show?
Um, yeah. I mean, I always love the Tails' Crush episode a lot, which is the one that introduces Zoe, the girl Tails likes. Just because that was like a good way to like show the different characters, the way each character would approach the same problem differently. I just always like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Very strong script by Cindy, and we got to write it a little bit too, but it ended up being a very good episode.
I loved the any episode with music in it. I love the boy bands episode, Battle of the Boy Bands, and Planes, Trains, and Dude Mobiles too. Just again because I don't know. I like when a show feels big. I like when just like a musical, when a song kicks out that you're not expecting it or something like that, you know?
Yeah, those are some of my favorites too. I also really liked one of the first ones we did in season 1. We did Dude, Where's My Eggman? And we got to kind of play with Orbot and Cubot, and we got to kind of subvert the normal, you know, I mean, normally we're hanging out with Sonic and the gang, and that time we kind of got to do it from a different angle and tell the story a different way. So that was fun too. But I agree. I also am a big fan of the Planes, Trains, and Dude Mobiles episode, and just being able to, those musical episodes where we got to write songs too always seemed like a little something extra, something special.
Yeah. Yeah, the one Greg just mentioned, Dude, Where's My Eggman? That a lot of episodes started like that, where so we're just going like, all right, The Hangover. You know, like what's a hangover episode look like in Sonic Boom? Why can't they remember anything? And it's like, well, there's robots, maybe some robots, and their memory got wiped. And then that like opens up a whole thing, and you're just riffing on a format, a trope, but like that fits in the world, and that's always fun.
Yeah, for me, I don't know what on top of my head. I think it was my favorite episode that I always rewatch that I like. I forget the title, but I know the plot of the episode was when Knuckles, Sonic, Amy, and Percy were in Tails' workshop, and they burned the place a little bit.
Yes, that was our
Fire
Rashomon
in a
episode.
Yeah, Fire in a Crowded Workshop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. I just like that one because everyone's different perspective and how they also saw everyone's like perspective of every character. Like I'm like, oh my god, these people are just yeah. That episode was definitely like my favorite that I go back to.
Yeah, that was a really fun one to work on, and yeah, we basically just were like, let's do Rashomon, let's do the Akira Kurosawa version of Sonic somehow, and we did it, and I think it came out great.
Yeah. Okay, so the next thing I have here is something that every writer sometimes they go through. They think it's good, but it's not. Anything that you put out that you said, darn it, I should have put that in, and never mind. I thought it would be funny. Never mind. Like sometimes you might have something in your head and it sounds great, but then you have it on paper or in presentation. You're like, oh wait, never mind.
Is there anything
regret?
Our biggest regret that we got on the show? That's the question. I don't know. Do you have a good answer for that, Alan?
I'll give you a sort of answer to that. There's an episode called Counterproductive. That is so we pitched an episode called our pitch was called Knuckles the Bully, and it was like Knuckles basically is looking back on a past experience and realizes, oh no, I think I was a bully to this guy when I was younger, and then it's like him trying to like make it right to him, and there was like a lot of jokes about anti-bullying tactics and stuff, which was very triggering for Cartoon Network. They were like, we have our whole anti-bullying campaign, you can't make fun of it. In fact, we don't even like the word bully. And so then we went through all these versions where we were just going like, all right, so he wasn't a bully, maybe he was a jerk. And they're like, oh, that's a little vulgar and everything.
Say jerk, yeah.
And like it eventually became Knuckles realizes with horror that he was at one point in his past counterproductive. And it's like, because a concept he learns about from this business guru. And I remember there was a point where we're just like, can we just like throw this away and start over? And they were just like, it's in the pipeline. It's approved. It's at levels. We're moving forward with this. That was like my big my biggest regret, because I was like, I don't even know what this is about anymore.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer, Alan. Because yeah, we were really excited about the bully concept too. We were coming at it and we were kind of like making fun of those. What was this the one where there was like they went and they did like a presentation and there was like an anti-bullying
Yeah.
seminar thing. But then it just like none of that made sense anymore. And counterproductive isn't like a thing that people think about being and it being. It just like it was a plot that got noted to the point where it turned into something that didn't resemble the initial idea that excited us. And I think that's probably our biggest regret. I don't think we wrote anything where we were like, oh no, that didn't work because of what we did. There we got noted a few times. And yeah.
Yeah, I guess there's plenty of times where it's like, we watch something and we just go, oh, that didn't play like it did
That
in my
didn't
head.
land.
And,
yeah, the way we wanted it to. Yeah.
I will say one thing I regretted big time was after the fact, in the Shadow episode, I was like, I wish that we put in a moment where Sonic throws Shadow off of him and Shadow falls into a rack of clothes and then comes out in a Hawaiian shirt, because the Hawaiian shirt Shadow meme was just big at that time. And I was like, we could have done that really fast. And he would have come out in a Hawaiian shirt, went, huh? And then shook it off and kept going. And I was like, oh, I missed a joke.
Oh, that would have
Missed
been
opportunity.
funny. That would have been funny. That would have been funny. Yeah. Nice. Okay, since you are talking about like a funny thing going around back then, do you guys have any favorite memes that came from the show? But because of that show, there have been many memes from that show that I still see to this day.
Yeah.
There are a lot of memes. They've turned. I mean, basically, any time that we wrote a joke that was kind of standalone and could be delivered in 4 or less lines, it got turned into a meme. And we love that stuff. I mean, that was actually the lifeblood of the promotion of the show. Sega wasn't doing any of it. We were contributing some memes ourselves just to kind of help promote the show. And then it seemed that the Sonic Boom community really latched on and started doing just turning everything into a meme. So I love all of that. Alan, I'm sure you want to talk about the meme approved meme.
Oh, sure. I mean, that was a big one. Meme approved.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, there's a clip, and it's a video clip, a genuine clip from the show where Knuckles goes, meme approved, and he does a little stamp motion. That was an accidental meme. That wasn't meant to be a meme. The joke in the episode is Knuckles is filling in his mare, and somebody asks him, to whom do I come to get this approved? And Knuckles says, to whom? To meme. And then he stamps it, says approved. So it's a grammar joke. But when you just clip it down, just meme, approved, totally different context, totally different meaning that we didn't even think about. And I love that.
Yeah. That I definitely I'm a spoilers. I used that also in one of my videos a couple times already because it just it fit the scenario of what the video contents was because I need to show the video in order to understand. But basically, if you read the comics, there were at one moment 2 characters who are like bad, quote unquote, but they got into the a big restoration area and people were against it at first. But then I made a funny video of them being approved for the organization, and then at the end when they were lying about their good ways, I was like, well, okay, I buy it. Everyone else has been through all that, and then at the end, I have Knuckles say approved. That way, that way it fits.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, I love a lot of the memes are just our best jokes. So, I always like seeing some good jokes where I go like, hey, we sure were clever.
Yeah. All right. So since I know that as writers we all go through certain things and you talked about notes and stuff. So obviously I had to ask, was it hard to write for the show? Because at the time of Sonic Boom. The era had a lot of restrictions and mandates when it comes to lore and characters. I know that Ian Flynn and M. Stanley, many writers in the Sonic community, they all say there's a lot of rules and a lot of mandates even now. So I just gotta ask.
So I would say, Alan, can I take this? I'll take this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll pass to you. I'll say that I don't think it was hard in general to write for the show. Thankfully, the world of Sonic Boom was its own universe. So we had a lot of free reign in that universe. Knuckles is a very different character than he was in the in the original Sonic canon. And so there was a lot more free reign to do stuff, and there were all these original characters that we were playing with. There was Dave the Interns and Mike the Oxes and Soar the Eagles, and there were all these other characters that we could basically do anything we want with them. The notes came when we would bring in other characters. When Shadow would show up is when we would have the most amount of notes. That would be the more difficult thing, and that's why we didn't excitedly encourage bringing in more characters from the greater Sonic universe, because when we brought in a Shadow or we brought in Vector, they were just much more protected by Sega. Sega had a lot more to say, and they put more restrictions on it, and that became a bit harder. And that's not a criticism of Sega. That's just them protecting their property and their IP and trying to maintain something. But that was what made it harder to write when those things happened. So if you're wondering why Shadow didn't show up more often, it was just because when he did show up, our job was harder. So we didn't want to include him as much as I would have loved to include him all the time, because we did have fun when we did get to write him, and we did get to find that perfect little balance of he's super serious, he doesn't quite get it. That's he's so serious, that's what makes him funny. I wanted to play with that all the time. He was Lego Batman in our head. But but there were a lot more notes, so we kind of saved him for special moments.
Understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alan, anything to add to that?
Pretty much. Okay. So I was saying pretty much ditto to everything Greg said. It wasn't too hard writing, provided we stayed in our lane, which the lane was comedy version of Sonic and Friends that doesn't contradict or acknowledge previous backstory in any way. So as long as we stayed in that bubble, good. But if we tried to do anything about a joke about an old game or someone's past or a different character or a reference to another version of Sonic, then it was all hell falling on us.
All right. Yeah, definitely.
We still got a few. We still got a few
Yeah.
in though.
At least.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we move on to the fan questions, and of course, there were many, and I managed to get all the things conjoined or shortened and everything. And I know you already highlighted some things already crossed out. So if there's anything else while I'm asking, definitely note it. And if you have the document up on your end or not.
Yeah, I'm in it.
No, let's do it.
All right. Okay, so the first one on top right here this is the one that got the most out of it. I counted. This had the most. Where is season 3 and what happened to it?
There is no season 3, and there never was. That's not how TV always works. Sometimes you get an episode order, and then you wait for approval for the next season, and that didn't come in the case of Sonic Boom Season 3. We wrote a Season 1, we wrote a Season 2, we'd hoped for a Season 3, but it just wasn't ordered, and that was really it. We would have loved to write more, but that was not on the table. That was not our choice.
Yeah, I think it's because since at the end of every season they always say next season. I guess that's why people were hoping for another season. So that's
That was a little cruel. Yeah,
we definitely wrote that at the end of season 2 for multiple reasons. I think one reason was the hopes that there would be a season 3, and the other reason was if there isn't a season 3, it's kind of funny to end it like that, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
that's the thing.
maybe a little cruel, but it was well intentioned. It was a comedy moment in my head.
Yeah, Greg,
Right.
when we wrote the end of season 1, where they're saying like, think of all the adventures we'll have next season with the same 8 characters and 4 locations. Did we know the show was coming back at that point, or
Was that season 1 or 2 that ended?
at the end
One.
of season 1?
That was one,
Orbot
okay.
and Cubot talk about getting an internet petition started for season 2.
Okay, yeah. That was us going, I hope we get a season 2. I don't think we knew immediately.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Oh, so wait, how did we end season 2 then? I thought that was the ending of season 2. Maybe
End
I'm
of season
mistaken.
2 was Eggman going, well, there's always next season.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yep. So we ended both seasons that way, as a joke on the audience, and also in the hopes that ending on such a line might encourage an executive to be like, well, I have to order a new season now.
We have to
Yeah, I
spend
totally get
$20
it.
million.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that, and then I'm like, oh, I can't wait for next season, and then many, many months go by, and then many, many years go by, like, oh, never mind. Never mind. Yeah. Okay, so the next one right here is like where everyone has always been asking, since you guys mentioned the other characters and such. They're basically asking how would you incorporate other characters from the series if you got a couple more seasons. They're not asking for like season 3, season 4, but if you got a couple more seasons, how would you be able to incorporate some of them off the top of your head?
That's a good question. Well, again, if they were to be incorporated, it would have been we would have not been able to make the final decision on how to do it. There would have been notes, and it would have complicated things. Let's see, what characters are you asking? Well, I don't know. Is there any in particular? Alan, you want to chime in there?
There's a long list right here. The only ones that come up here is Cream, Big, Jet, Rouge, Omega, Blaze, and Big and Silver. Those are the ones that everyone basically, I think, out of all the characters, they were the ones that were most requested. They were most requested and hoped for.
So we had a few different ideas, not necessarily from this list, but we had an idea of incorporating Scratch and Grounder as like alternate dimension henchmen who have a beef with Orbot and Cubot, and they're basically competing for Eggman's affections. Yes. We had an idea. It was like an anti-idea of just like Charmy B, and everybody hates him. Just everybody hates Charmy B.
Yeah, I think if we were to incorporate Charmy the Bee, Eggman would create a giant robot that has like all these like blades, like a giant blender bot, and I think we would just chuck Charmy in there. That's what I would do. But that's me. Sorry to you Charmy fans.
We talked about Big a lot, and we were just going like, we can't put Big the cat in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Back then,
Yeah.
Big the cat wasn't like back then they did have like a thing where he wasn't supposed to be like anywhere at all way back then, but now they resurged him and he's way more beloved than he was before. So if Sonic Boom was around now, maybe they would have allowed you to have him in there.
I think I have an I was just thinking now that like if we were to incorporate something like Silver, right? Which, so if you think about the creation and the whole lineage of Sonic the Hedgehog, right? It was like they created this character Sonic, and what was the idea? He's so cool. He's cool and casual, and then something happens, and Sonic 3 happens, and then they create this character Knuckles. And at the time, there's not all this expanded comic lore, not too much of it. That stuff's again, that's a separate lore entirely. So Knuckles is just Sonic, except he's even cooler. And then what happened after that? Then they introduced Shadow, and they're like, this guy's like even cooler than that. And then Silver comes along, and I don't even know how you could be cooler than Shadow, but the intent is like, hey guys, look how cool this Hedgehog is. I think if we were to incorporate Silver, that would be his character. He thinks he's the coolest one yet, and there's just this like one-upsmanship thing. I know that's not maybe true to Silver's character in general, but based on my understanding of the creation of these characters and Sega's very limited understanding of character in general at the time.
Oh,
At the
at
time.
the time.
At
At
the
the
time.
time. At the time.
I feel like it would be fun to play around with kind of that idea with Silver.
Nice.
Silver coming in as Poochie.
He's Poochie. He's Poochie. Yeah.
Man, that's Silver has been known to have a little bit of a cockiness to him. So amplifying that and putting that into the show to have like a different interpretation of Silver in that regard, oh, that would be hilarious. Oh, man, that actually would be funny. I've seen fan art of Silver in Sonic Boom like attire, but he looks like more like a person who was like lost in time and stuff. But your interpretation, I definitely want to see that instead. That's why I want to see that. Okay. So the next one, we finally get to talk about the other character in the Sonic gang. Who designed Stitch? Because at the time when she was still like being like before you even knew who she was and everything, people assumed that she was Marine in Sonic Boom form because she and Marine look like alike. So
Yeah.
was the design intentional, or did you guys realize that at the time?
So I don't think the design was intentionally a knockoff of Marine. I'm pretty sure Big Red Button designed Sticks. Big Red Button, the game studio that did Rise of Lyric, they were the first ones they made the concept art of Sonic Boom, many iterations of it. And I'm pretty sure Sticks came from that. She was fully designed by the time Greg and I came in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But I know I remember so many were like predicting. Even I thought it was Marine at first. I did because they do look alike, and I'm still surprised they haven't made a joke about that yet. But yeah, I definitely at first thought it was. Then I saw the name Badger. Like, wait a minute, where's a raccoon? Never mind. All right. So since we are talking about the Sonic Boom games, there is one other character that one person asked, which I'm very surprised not a lot of people asked about this. How come Lyric was in the games, but he never was inserted in the show? I know he was frozen again, I think, but I don't remember. I didn't get the game, so I don't remember if he's like frozen or anything.
Well, Edward, I think you answered your question. You didn't even get the game. So why would they want to remind everybody about one of the worst, most poorly received Sonic games? Sonic Boom was happening, but they didn't have to include Lyric, and I think that's why they didn't mandate us to do it. They were like, let's not remind people. The game, the thing's already called Sonic Boom. Sega was wanting to shy away, as far as I could tell, from the brand entirely, despite giving us a TV show. I don't think they wanted to remind people of the game that didn't do very well, and so they never asked us, I don't think, to ever include Lyric. Do you recall anything different, Alan?
No, Lyric was never considered in the show. I think it's also Lyric was I think deemed necessary for the game because the branch of Sonic Boom was comedy focused and Eggman was kind of nerfed to just being like a guy who hangs around with, like Eggman like isn't like a big threat in this comedy world. So they were like, if we have this game, we need a legitimate villain threat. So we're going to invent somebody else who's like more serious than the nerfed down Eggman in this branch. I think that's why they went with Lyric, but truly never even discussed on the show.
Wow. To the shadows, they go. To the shadows, what's the word? They go. So, okay. Okay. Next one. Okay, biggest things learned from season 1 going into season 2.
That's an interesting question. I think we got a better handle of the Sonic community after season 1. We got to see some of the feedback of what they liked and what they didn't like, and we just kind of felt more ingrained, like I said, into the community. So going into season 2, we knew how to write more stuff for the fans. I think we understood things they wanted to see a little bit more, and we incorporated little Easter eggy jokes for them. And I think that was kind of the biggest thing going into season 2.
Like, we wrote season 1 in this vacuum where the show wasn't even announced, and we didn't, like, Greg and I sometimes we'd sit there, we'd be working for like for days, weeks, months, and there would be times where we'd look at each other and go like, is anyone even going to see this show? Like, we didn't know where it was going to air or if anyone would watch. And so seeing people react to the show, and especially that how much like the little micro references went over, kind of gave us a lot of confidence to be sillier with Sonic history.
Yeah, all right, right. That definitely does happen sometimes when the first season comes out and like, okay, so do we get approved for season 2? What should we do next? Oh, and the fact that you always say you seen people's reactions and comments and stuff. Like back then I didn't even think of those possibilities because I always thought that no one would ever see anyone's comments or reactions or anything. But now I know that any person who's behind the show, they will see people's reactions.
Yeah.
They will see all your comments. They will see that. That's why I want to say, be careful if you really, really go heavy on things. Like, there are people behind this, and they can see everything you're talking about. It's the internet. They're gonna see it.
Yeah, the good thing was because Bill Freiberger was the showrunner, so he got all the feedback. Like, people would, if they had negative opinions, they would send them to Bill as the man in charge. But Greg and I, we're below Bill. So if people sought us out, they're not really seeking us out to complain. So they're tagging us in the nice things.
All right. Okay, so in both of those seasons, were there any ideas that you guys had but you scrapped?
Sure.
There was one big one that, in fact, there was a script that was written entirely, as I recall, that got scrapped.
There's a whole script.
I forget why it got scrapped. Is it just because they wanted to add something else, or? Well, anyway, the script was. Well, go ahead.
I can tell you what.
Go ahead.
The season finale of season 2 of Sonic Boom is a 2-part episode. It wasn't written as a 2-part. It was written as a single episode. So when they decided to stretch it into a 2-parter, that meant losing another episode that already had been written.
The episode was Eggman gets married to Lady Walrus. It was
for her money. For her money.
For her money. It wasn't he wasn't in love. He was trying to steal her wealth for another evil scheme. I'm sure the script is floating around on one of our computers here. I haven't looked at it in years. I don't remember much else about it, but someday we should take a look. Maybe we can get the cast together to give a reading of it on some Sonic panel someday.
Oh wow. Oh man, that's funny. To think that one episode plot of the thing would that have been the finale or the episode before the finale?
That would have been before the finale.
Okay,
let's say the finale for the shadow stuff. Yeah.
Imagine Eggman being married as a finale to season 2.
Yeah, what's gonna happen next season?
Oh man, that was crazy.
So I am 1 second. I'm looking on my hard drive. It's called Eggman My Hero, and I have the script. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Alan, you want to read a line? Are we allowed? I mean,
we can read one line at least. That's fine.
Read one line, Alan. Read one line.
Read one line.
Well, read a good exchange. I don't know.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's like Eggman. Lady Walrus enters into a battle, and Eggman's Eggmobile catches a falling arm just before it would have collided with her. And she says, "Dr. Eggman, you saved my life." And he goes, "It was an accident. In fact, I tried to save the piece of obliterator bot from getting scuffed by your big skull." So there's a line. And so then she shows up. She starts showing up at the lair and giving him gifts, and he's just like, "Oh, how loaded is this lady?" And he's having money problems at the lair, and he's gonna marry her to get access to her finances. It's a weird one.
Yeah, it probably needs a polish too. I think we probably abandoned it after a first draft because of the mandate that we weren't going to be doing it. But
Now I'm
there
wondering
you
about all
go.
the drafts. Now I'm wondering all the drafts you guys have saved, but you probably don't even remember what they call it because they're
Yep.
very deep, deep, deep in your computers.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember not being sad that this one was scrapped.
Okay, so then the next question we have here is I don't know if you've seen the Sonic Prime series. I don't know if you've seen that yet or not, but
Hmm.
one fan asked, would it be cool if you were allowed to do it if the Sonic Boom's TV series had a crossover with Sonic Prime? You know, since Sonic Prime is like a big dimensional kind of thing, they would have it would have been a nice moment if they Sonic just happened to jump into the Sonic Boom universe and see, Sonic Boom cast. Would it have been
Yeah.
cool? And obviously, would you guys even be writing on it?
So I'm going to say yes, it would be cool. And if you're listening, Sega, now's the time. You can do it. We're here. We're ready to do it. Sonic Boom team, call over some of the Sonic Prime team. We'll work together. We'll make that episode happen. I'm happy to make that happen. If any of the higher ups want to give us a call about it.
Yeah. Get Devin Mack and Roger Craig Smith to share a scene. Beautiful.
Oh, that would be great. That would be great.
Everybody wants it.
I know they've met already, so they definitely have that connection already. Okay, so the next question right here is, what Sonic Boom original character, did you find the most enjoyment in writing for, other than Stitz?
Dave the intern. It was.
I knew it. I knew it.
There's a reason he was in like 90 of the 104 episodes. He was our favorite, and it was not just the way that we wrote. I mean, we enjoyed writing him in the writers' room, but then once Roger gave a voice to him in the recording booth, that made us want to write him in all the more because he had such a fun time voicing him, and we just had a blast writing for that character.
Dave the intern is very relatable. I will say he's very relatable. I can see why he was included in so many episodes. So yeah, I can see why he was definitely like the most favorite, other than Stitz and everyone else.
Yeah. He's the reason why that terrible burger joint is like the gang's hangout, because it makes no sense that they hang there all the time. They hate it there, but that's where he works. So.
Yep.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah, I know. I know. They sometimes don't even approve of the burgers, but it's their hangout joint. It's basically the one place they all go to. So there's no other place to eat. What you gonna eat at? Where else you gonna eat? Okay. So one question right here is whose idea was it to make the episode Just a Guy?
Whose idea?
I
think it was Bill.
You think Bill pitched the Just a Guy episode? Maybe.
I think so.
I don't remember. Maybe it was either Bill or us. It was one of the core writing staff that pitched the idea of the episode. I remember we picked out Mike the Ox because of his 2D character design being so characterful, and that's why we wanted to make him a big part of the episode. And then when the 3D design came in, they just didn't nail it. In my opinion.
Yeah.
What do you got, Alan? What'd you discover?
I mean, I found our springboard with Bill's notes on it, so I guess it did come from us.
It came from us. Hey, look at that.
And then a very short note. He said, "I like the concept. Be careful to link the two parts: Sonic being coached to spare people's sensitivity, and Sonic retiring from being a hero." Very few notes there. It's a long springboard, man.
We were detailed, man. We
page.
wanted. We didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember early on, Bill loved the design of this like gentleman ox villager who's like, just a character with a top hat and a cane. And Bill really wanted, I remember, he was just like, that's the guy, and Just a Guy. And we were just like,
but he's not just a guy.
He's not a normal guy. He's an aristocrat. He's the upper crust. And but I do remember that where it was almost Ox Gentleman, as the guy and just a guy instead of Mike the Ox.
All right, all right. I think from the off the top of my head, I think people always look back to how Sonic says like how he always sees everyone every week, yada 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 yada, and everything. And then I remember one comment on YouTube saying, "I'm surprised he hasn't asked to be paid." And then it got like a lot of likes on that one. So I'm like, I wonder, that would have been a funny joke. Like, I see you guys all the time. I should get getting paid for this.
He should be getting paid for this, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I know you guys basically already answered about like Charmy and the other characters not being in, but a lot of people already asked that how come Vector was the only member of the Chaotix in the show? Was it only because they allowed only Vector, or?
You got it. Boring answer. Boring answer is Sega said, we have internally decided Vector can appear in the show. Please write a Vector episode. And it was Vector only. And so we said, okay, sure. We'll write an episode about Vector.
Okay.
But that was it.
I guess this is like an additional side question that I just came up with right now. Since Vector was the only member there, did I'm guessing they said no to any mention of SBO or Charmy or anything like that?
Oh yeah.
We weren't. I don't know if they said no to any mention, but we weren't going to consider mentioning them if they weren't going to be on the show. So it didn't behoove us to mention those characters.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
They did like the challenge then became like what is Vector by himself, and like I remember we had this like breaking session where we were going like, what's his voice on this show and everything, and you know, we were going like detective, and then like went down to like a riff, and then just like kind of came to this like hard-boiled detective trope where he's like a little old-fashioned and like, you know, from the 1940s or something. And so just like,
and then somehow he also
been...
was Dog the Bounty Hunter.
He used obsolete vernacular, but was also a reality show star. And so it just would have been something totally different if the rest of the Chaotix were in there.
I knew there was a lot of reasons behind the reason why Vector was the only one. Since Vector was approved to be on the show, did you guys have a note or a say in how he should be designed or anything? Because his design is like really good. I never thought he would actually look okay without the headphones on, but he always has the headphones on, but he looks great without the headphones on.
We didn't. I don't know that we had too much say in it, but it just didn't make sense that he would have headphones on. He wasn't listening to music. He was, you know, like it just didn't really factor into the plot of what we were doing. So someone probably just made the call like, yeah, we don't need the headphones. It's a little confusing if he's wearing them.
Yeah. All right. So the next question we have right here. I know you since the games obviously were panned, but there is one question that a fan did ask. Like, was there any plans? If you know the character, did you have any plans on further expanding DFAT? I'm guessing this is a character from the Sonic Fire and Ice game. I don't remember. Again, I never got the game. Were there any plans for that character? If he was gonna be like included in the show?
DFAT was included in the show. He got an episode.
Oh.
The game
toward
writers.
the end,
The game writers of Fire and Ice wrote a Defect episode, which was our crossover.
Ken Pontac and
Warren Graff.
Yeah.
So sure, that much. There wasn't plans to do more Defect. Kind of like a little boring little robot guy.
Yeah, it felt a little shoehorned in. I feel it was also like toward the very end of the show. Like, you got to squeeze in this episode about this character that no one remembers from the other game that no one played, and we were like, all right, sure.
All right. I get it. Okay, so I know you guys already mentioned that there was like not allowed much to be any backstory or anything, but if they did allow you, did you guys even like have any like plans in mind to give any characters for any backstory? Since it's a different universe, did you have any like plans to have any like backstory of who they are, why, yada 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 in that universe?
You mean of the main characters?
Yeah.
No, we were. I mean, we were told from the beginning that that's not something we were allowed to touch upon. So, aside from Styx and any of the original Sonic Boom, you know, uh, the people that lived in the town, we didn't really think too hard about character backstory. We used what we knew about Sonic, the core tenets of Sonic and Amy and Tails, and we factored that into their characters. But no, we weren't able to talk about that stuff, so it didn't really behoove us to
Yeah.
spend time on.
I'll give you a little cheat here. If you want to know what our ideas were for backstory, look to the alternate dimension episodes, because that is usually started as a backstory pitch that became like, well, we can't do that backstory. Go, well, but what if it's Eggman from an alternate dimension? And maybe that one has a brother or something, you know?
Yeah.
So a lot of that stuff.
All right, yeah, I get that. So, I know we're talking about them things being scrapped, but did you have any storylines that were planned but never made it into an episode because they were too much or too lengthy or it didn't fit with the episode you had planned?
There were several pitches that never got developed into episodes. I mean, Alan and I would we would submit 10, 20 pitches at a time, and only 4 or 5 of them would move forward, and the rest of them would just kind of get scrapped or set aside for potentially revisiting at a later date. So I remember we had one that was like emo tales. Do you remember that, Alan? We did.
Emo
We had
Tales?
we had one where
What?
Tails got like a little like gothy emo kid. I forget what prompted it. I really don't remember. This was so long ago now.
Wow.
But there was one where like Tails was a little emo kid. That's the only one I could think of off the top of my head.
I mean, Greg and I also wrote some never released issues of the Sonic Boom comic book tie-in that were scrapped episode pitches. That was like the idea when Archie Comics was like, you want to write some issues? Just use premises that were unproducible from the show, like and so we had one where Eggman attempts to build a time machine and fails, and it's just a regular car. It's not a car that can travel through time.
Or like a rocket or something, whatever it was, yeah.
And then he just crashes into a science fiction convention and believes he's now in the future and is like trying to figure out how to get back home. But he's just in the present day.
Yeah, and he's just fooled by all the sci-fi costumes and stuff at the con, and
that one would have gone forward, except for we would have had to recostume all of our cast and build this sci-fi convention. It would have been too expensive. There was the other one for the comics that we did was that Knuckles goes like viral for like making for a fail video. Like Knuckles causes a big accident that's recorded, and everybody laughs at him. And Eggman goes like, "Oh, if him destroying a room is so funny, imagine how viral I go when I destroy the whole city." And so like Eggman
accidentally,
he starts a fail video where he's going to set in motion the Doomsday. Again,
Oopsie Daisy. That one was called Oopsie Daisy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
There was one after the season wrapped, I remember, where I messaged Greg where I was like, I got a great one. We should have pitched it, which was that like Eggman puts on VR goggles and is like in a video game, but they get disconnected. And so now he just thinks he's seeing the real world through, these reddish goggles, and he thinks he's in an immersive video game where he can just mess stuff up with no consequence and everything. And they're just like, we have to stop him, but we have to do it in a way that makes him think he completed the game. Otherwise, it'll ruin his whole sense of reality or something. So that was another one that I was like, that one would have been good.
That would have been fun.
Wow. All right then. So we're already getting down to the last bunches right here. What were your your least favorite episodes, if you had any?
Least favorite episodes. Well, there's one that always stands out because it was Bill's absolute least favorite episode, and I think I kind of feel the same way because of his justification makes sense. What was it called? It was a
Buster.
Buster. Season one of the first episodes, Buster. The reason that Bill hated it so much was that the concept was Styx finds this little creature. It was supposed to be this like little gummy looking blob, and she falls in love with it, and she thinks it's adorable, and she makes it her pet, and that all makes sense. But then later discovers that it's secretly a robot. The problem is there were some notes came in, I don't know where from, but like basically the character design ended up being a little dog robot, like very obviously a robot from the second you see it. And what's the one thing we know about Styx? She doesn't trust technology. She hates robots. So this was like one of the first Styx focused episodes, and we were immediately undermining the biggest character trait of the character because this character design didn't come in the way that it was planned. So that was one that like stuck in Bill's craw, and I think we all were just like, yeah, that really hurts Styx the character. And thankfully, it's just like, I don't know, the episode was quickly forgotten. We got to move on and we got to write Styx the way we wanted to. But that one episode was a bit of a regret, as I recall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let me highlight that. All right, now we get on to everyone's favorite question that I know you probably seen a lot. It is the Shadow related questions.
Yeah.
What was the writing process for him? Why did he debut late in the series, only appearing twice? But yeah. Basically, the majority of the questions are always just that. So, care to take it away about that one?
Sure. I mean, I think we answered this already. Shadow was one of the characters that was a mandate from Sega to use. We would have loved to write him more often into the show, but anytime that he was added to the show, anytime him or Metal or Vector were there were just a lot more notes and a lot more restrictions. We weren't allowed to acknowledge his backstory. We weren't allowed to like explain his motivation because his motivation here was a little bit more vague, and it always was linked back to his backstory that we weren't allowed to talk about. So writing Shadow into an episode was tricky, and so we just didn't do it often. We would have loved to do it more often, but it was hard.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine you have this challenge of you're gonna write an episode of television, and what we need is Sonic and Shadow to have a fight. Okay, so then Shadow needs a reason to fight Sonic. Sonic needs a reason to fight Shadow. The problem was just like they even like gave us like a little presentation on Shadow, and it was like, what motivates Shadow, and it was Maria, and then that's it. And so, but we're not allowed to talk about his backstory at all. And so we were pitching all these things that reasons why Sonic and Shadow would be beefing, and they would just all get shot down. If Shadow wouldn't care about that, Shadow wouldn't care about that, Shadow wouldn't care about that, and to the point where we're like, all right, Shadow thinks Sonic is gonna accidentally destroy the universe, and so he's fighting him to stop him. They go, Shadow wouldn't care if the universe was destroyed, and we go, well. What? But he exists in the universe, right? They go, he doesn't care if he dies. They go, okay, I don't know. And so eventually he starts fighting Sonic because Sonic constructed a bookshelf very poorly. No, he starts fighting Sonic because Eggman like tricked him, which was its own fight of like, is he such a fool that Eggman could trick him with this simple lie?
Yes.
And it was sort of like, maybe that's the joke. Maybe that's the joke, is that he was so easily tricked. And
he's so serious, to the point of being unaware, and so Eggman was able to poorly splice together Sonic's dialogue to convince Shadow that Sonic said something insulting, and he will not stand by such foolishness.
Yeah, but like it truly was this puzzle where we're just like, Greg and I are pitchers. We're not precious about ideas. We'll just keep giving you ideas, and they just kind of kept going like, he wouldn't care about this. 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 And when it really came down to pride, he cares about pride. So if he feels slighted, we can do something. And so that was why. But it was also like you've got the eye of Sauron, a little bit of Sega on you when you're writing a Shadow episode. There's other executives. Japan is now involved, and there's just a lot of people giving notes. And it was the last episode of the season. If it was one in the middle of the season, it would have just dragged out forever. So that's really like why
but ultimately we did enjoy writing Shadow. It's just that it was more of a dance to make it good. And so I think it was like, it's easier if we don't use him. Frankly. Yeah, we wanted to use him more, but it was too much of a challenge, and there were just kind of too many creative restrictions.
Yeah, I know that even now, even though some mandates are a little bit lessened for him, there are still some rules and such for how he should be written in the comics, in the IDW comics going on right now. There's still like a lot of notes rewritten for the guy. Even though like in one issue he could be like working together very well with Sonic and not being as restrictive, but then next one he's as restrictive as ever. Like, what are you doing? So I don't even need to tell you about one issue where he in the Metal Virus one. I don't know if you guys even know about that one, but yeah, it was really bad around that time. It actually brings up one thing. If you were allowed to have Shadow be in one other episode, a tag team with someone, who would it be? But not other than Sonic, but Sonic would be too obvious.
Sonic would be the obvious choice. I don't know. I think Knuckles would be a funny, juxtaposition with him, because Shadow takes everything so seriously, and Sonic Boom's version of Knuckles was just kind of this silly dimwit. I think there'd be a lot of fun there.
Yeah, though I can
imagine a lot of misinterpreting each other and not quite understanding.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Shadow would want to fight him just for how he's annoying him.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Now we're going on to the last one, which I purposely saved for last, but it's a very funny one. Okay. Were the Son-Amy moments between Sonic and Amy in the show hard to include? Because there were many, and since there were mandates and restrictions and stuff, was those moments hard to put into the show?
I don't recall them being difficult. Alan?
Yeah, I mean, going back a second, when we started on the show, we were presented with a show Bible, like a packet of the characters and their relationships to each other. And it was decided right from jump, Sonic and Amy are like in this "what are we" relationship in Sonic Boom, where it's like they're not official dating, but they're both like Amy's not a
there's
stalker.
There's an implied like that they like each other a little bit. That was but it was implied. It was never explicit.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
so it just became like these things that we would throw in. The best ones were usually like the like when they act like they're not jealous of each other or something, or where are you going? I mean, I don't care. Whatever, do whatever you want. And like those were like kind of the best moments. I think sometimes we would I don't know, make it look like they were on a date or something, and I feel like those usually got pared back. But in general, Sega liked it. Sega liked the stuff that would get fans excited, and so I wouldn't say it was hard. It was I don't know, it was a joy. It was something that we tried to do.
All right. But since you do mention Sega, I did bring up the last little question that came out of my head right now. So in the show, there were so many moments where the show was making fun of itself and in a way, a lot of times. And I remember, like, obviously, if I'm making fun of some new design, and then the one where Amy was saying studios should stop reusing stuff and make something new for once, and just awkward silence for like a couple seconds. Like, those were like my favorite moments. Like, are they making fun of things like that? Like, when I was younger, I didn't even realize it till I got older. But yeah, like I'm surprised that they allowed for it to make fun of itself. But and so was it hard to do those ones or no?
No, that was natural. That stuff just poured out of us. It was not hard at all. I mean, honestly, I think a show that doesn't take itself too seriously and that can be self-aware and make fun of itself, I think that's I mean that makes for a better show. That makes for a better viewing experience, and it definitely like shows that we're not too precious about these things. I think that that just is kind of endearing for any show to do a little bit. So maybe we did it. Maybe we did a little too much. I couldn't say, but I liked acknowledging the audience and the existence of a greater Sonic universe having existed prior, and I don't know any of that stuff. And yeah, and then like taking a couple jabs at old versions of Sega. I mean, like we didn't need to do that all the time, but it was just kind of funny that they would be the ones doing that.
Yeah, I do remember sometimes they would like be like they didn't like if Sonic, like usually it's someone other than Sonic complaining about Sonic history because they didn't want Sonic himself to be the one bad mouthing Sega's decisions or something. You know, like so that's like I think Amy is the one who says like game companies should, you know, stop rehashing and do something original for once. Like there's a reason why that's not Sonic's voice saying that.
Yeah.
You know, or like when they meet a villain named the Dreamcaster, and then they have an aside about like that's a terrible name. Sonic is the one going like I think it's a good name. So I will say like that.
That's a
that
good
was one
choice.
thing.
I think that's funny though that like Sonic's the one defending it, and they're all just like, "Come on, man."
Yeah, yeah. I was just fun. I always do love it whenever a shows like make fun of itself because it's the fact that it's so self-aware and not taking itself seriously. That's what makes for good comedy in my opinion.
Yeah, right on.
Thanks. I think so too.
Yeah. Okay, so I that looks like all to be it, guys. We have made it through all the questions, surprisingly. Thank goodness. All right. So, I'm a fans for watching. Everyone's for watching this. Thank you for all the questions. I know there were a lot, but I got the majority. So, Greg, Alan, thank you guys for joining in on this. I had a great time. Anything you guys want to say to the fans before we head off?
Yeah, I just want to plug Greg's YouTube channel really fast.
Thank you. Well, go ahead,
Greg's-
Alan. You're
Oh,
plugging
okay,
it.
yeah.
You wanted to plug it, so I'm going to let you do it.
Greg's got a channel, toy hunts, retro toys, deep dives in toys from the 80s and 90s called Every Single Muscle. Check it out. He's got a ton of videos of rare toy finds and deep dives and into Muscle Men, Battle Beasts, and all sorts of vintage toys.
That's
Very
true. Hey, thanks, Alan. Appreciate the plug. But as far as for Alan, would you want me to plug? You want to talk Plim Plim in on here?
Yeah, plug Coco Melon. They need it.
No, we're not going to do that. But I will just say to the fans, thank you so much for being as welcoming and kind as you've all been to us over the years. We really appreciate all the kind words and all the support and all of the love for the show that we worked on. We had a great time working on it, and we love talking to fans about it. So thank you, and keep talking about it. We're happy to talk about it forever.
All right, fans, everyone, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.